Well, it turned out to be a great weekend. 7 up cans floating around Scotland and Ireland as they become the latest company to be banned from Ibrox. Hello and welcome to episode 105 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself, Paul. You can check out all the links to the podcast, including our forum page, www.celticrooms.co.uk, or you can check out the description and get all the links to the podcast below. On tonight's show, we look back at yesterday's 4-2 victory at Celtic Park against Dundee United. We talk about the key points of Celtic's AGM this week, and we look ahead to Motherwell's game where Celtic be hoping to increase or maintain their 7-point lead at the top of the table. Firstly, though, I'm going to hand off to Mark where he's going to do a few shout-outs and he's going to talk to you about our food bank Christmas appeal.
Thanks very much, Paul. A few shout-outs to lads off the forum, Tim Alloy, Richie and his family, we John United Ireland at Glasgow Green. Guys in the chat there, Mikey, evening Mikey. Well, I am nice to see you again. Well, Bobby, as always, Bobby's there. Up there, Bobby, I'll try and get on for the upcoming pods, mate. Definitely to beat my duck. They're all just shite in the buckets, isn't they, Paul? They're all scared, isn't it? Big Jabber.
Oh, yeah, Jabber, yeah, got a bit of Dutch courage down. He had a bit of drinks in him. He made sure he was on the beach. We couldn't hear him.
But there, Bobby saying I'll need to get on and break my duck as well. No, it's once you get on, it really is. It's daunting, but once you get on, it's really easy. It's just like talking on the phone, really.
I'll break your duck, Bobby. That's what I will.
Big shout out as well, Bobby. If you do, can you put a link to Jockney Sparrow's channel in the chat, bud? Well, Jockney gave us a shout out. Jockney's, if you don't need to listen to Jockney's stuff, just to give the guy a subscription, man, because he gave us a shout out. We've picked up 10 subs for he gives us a shout out. So a big shout out to Jockney Sparrow for that. We're up at 629 subs. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, everybody that subs, that listens in, joins us live, listens into the podcast, so on the other kind of the other platforms and that. The links to all that's in the description box below through our link tree. Paul says we're forum, we're Discord, we're video gaming Discord. There's no really Celtic talk in that. If you don't support Celtic, come in, and if you're on our support, come in, you can still join in the video game chat and that, I suppose. Our food bank, this is our 6th year for collecting for my local food bank. Oh, there, Brian. Sorry, Brian, I didn't see you there, mate. Sorry. This is our 6th year for me collecting from the Hamilton Food Bank through my chapel kind of thing. We're just under £9,000 we've collected over the past 5 years, and we're going for it again this year. And we've already got £110 in it already, Paul. Just for I launched it the other day. So again, if you can afford to get in, please give as much as you can. And if you can't, there's no hassle, don't worry about it. But help us share it and get it shared on social medias and stuff like that. We'd be really appreciate it, because it's always tough at Christmas, but I think this year's going to be a hell of a lot tougher than a lot of people think for these kind of people that are struggling and need food banks helping that. So let's get back to the cheery stuff, Paul.
Yeah, so Celtic 4, Dundee United 2. Scoreline doesn't really match the game as Celtic failed to get any kind of rhythm into the game. One because of long stoppages to VAR, another Nick Welch being whistle happy again, blowing up for every foul against Dundee United players. Goals from Haksabanovic, the 6th and 34th minutes before Dundee. Goals came from Stephen Fletcher for a penalty. They equalised, levelling the score in the 87 minutes. But as Ange said at the start of the season, and we've seen throughout this season and last season, this team doesn't stop. Kyogo scoring on the 90 minutes for Abada, showing all 3 points scored to Celtic. Him scoring on the 92nd minute. Celtic are now sitting 7 points clear at the top of the table after weekend's results, after Rangers dropped points to St Johnstone today. The stats were shot Celtic 24 to Dundee United 6, on target 12 to their 3, possessions 75 to 25, passes 697 to Celtic. Some of them are saying it was 701, but look, we'll just stick with this. Dundee United's 243 pass accuracy was 90% to Celtic to their 65. Firstly, Mark, before we talk about the game, I just want to talk about Walsh again yesterday. We saw him giving away, not giving us a blatant free kick 2 weeks ago against Hearts, giving that penalty yesterday when Barnaby's back was actually turned away from the ball, no control of where the ball is, hits off his hand, and he actually you said at the time when it was the Hearts game, why didn't he go over and look at the monitor? But this time he did, and he still gave the penalty. I don't know, man, does this fella actually know the rules? Like, you know what I mean? You know, I really, really don't. Like,
it was a bit mind-boggling, Paul. Evening you, Deef. Thanks for coming in again, mate. It's been a good weekend so far, aye. The Burnaby, I didn't show the game, Paul. I was away to Chapel, but but I've never seen anything like that in my life. I'll be honest with you, Paul. I've never seen any decision like that in my life before. I don't know. Is it unexplainable or unexplainable? But you can't. There's nothing that. I mean, it's not. The guy's not even looking at. He's not even facing the way the ball is or nothing. It's just one of the most bizarre, crazy decisions I've seen in a match in a long time. And it's once again it's been to this VAR. And again, going back to the one against Hearts, it was just another pure crazy decision. That if that was a penalty yesterday and that one against Hearts wasn't, we're needing some kind of explanation to come from these referees.
Yeah, exactly, Mark. Yeah.
But the parameters that they're looking at stuff for. That's really what I'm thinking, because it was meant to do away with inconsistencies, Paul, when we've had two blatant inconsistencies in the space of a couple of weeks.
And we're calling them out, Mark, when we're winning. So it's not because we're losing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's one thing I noticed about him yesterday, and kind of Ange Tipton as well after the game. Like, this is upsetting Ange's rhythm. Celtic can't get into no rhythm throughout the game. One, because Walsh is constantly on his whistle, blowing for any time a Dundee United player fell to the floor, it was a free kick.
And the time it's taking for them to make decisions and check stuff and stuff like that.
Check stuff. Do you mean Abada's goal there? They were checking that for about five minutes. Do you know what I mean? It's just it really is like.
But Paul, let's be honest. We're going to be talking about this every weekend. We're going to be talking about VAR decisions every single weekend on every podcast that we do.
It's not VAR, man. VAR works. The system is right. It's the people who are doing it.
You know what I mean? We'll still be discussing the VAR scenario in that, but I'm guarantee we'll be discussing VAR extensively on practically every kind of. We'll need to cover it, but we'll not be going on and on about it hopefully every week, because it just gets boring, the same things. But I thought Ange was quite. I think he wanted to see a lot more than he said yesterday, Paul.
I don't think
I think he was kind of picking his words carefully and stuff like that. But there's got to be some. And again, Paul, it's no sour grapes. So as we quite dodgy refereeing decisions, even if it's in Rangers games and we think it's wrong decisions, we'll see it kind of thing, or right decisions. But it's just no consistency. There's no explanation to how they got to these decisions again, Paul.
Like, I can't understand, Mark, why that tackle,
the Sybil tackle
on Haxavangival wasn't sent off when his boots were high, his studs were showing. Do you know what I mean? VAR's supposed to be having a look at dangerous play. Like that was clearly dangerous.
I want to know how the ref didn't see that.
And he was looking straight at it, Mark.
That's one of the things I've said. Like, VAR should be something. If you go and look at that for your naked eye, would you see that? I don't know how we didn't see it for his naked eye live. Never mind having to go and look at it for VAR.
Exactly, Mark. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because everyone saw that. Like, because I was listening to it on Dundee United TV, and they said at half time they were lucky to be still in this game, and VAR's whistle in this game. They were lucky not to be down to 10 men, and they got a penalty that they felt was harsh. And this was Dundee United TV saying this. They're two.
They think the penalty was a bit soft as well, aye?
Yeah, they were saying it.
At least they're calling it fair.
They said days. They said that some days they were saying that they're going to be screaming against VAR, but today they said they can't. That VAR was actually with them. You know, so I don't know who they're two. I'm sure Jonas will probably send Dundee United TV a nice email about that or something. You know. we've seen it, Mark, and kind of Ange kind of said it yesterday as well, that just because we're winning games, you don't really see it. But this team just keeps going and keeps going till the whistle goes. And we kind of saw it now in the last couple of weeks with this Celtic team against St. Johnstone a couple of weeks back. We saw it against Hearts. We saw it again yesterday. They don't stop, Mark. They keep going. They want to keep the chances, you know.
But Celtic have been noted for that for years, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even mind going back to like our centenary season back in '88. We scored ahead of a lot of late winners in games and stuff like that, cup finals and stuff like that back then. Terence just messaged us. He's away down in Dublin with his wee boy for somebody's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Where was I there? Oh, I talking about late winners. It's just something that, and it's again, Paul. It's a sign of a good team, but. Again, Paul, for what I seen of the game, and even as I said, I saw the first half and watched like highlights of the full game and that. I don't think Celtic played particularly well yesterday, to be honest.
I didn't, Mark, and I to looking at me, I can think as well, Mark, that the way the game was going, it did upset Celtic yesterday, that they couldn't get their thing played. That we couldn't get into any rhythm, like, you know what I mean?
You get all this stopping and starting and hold ups and stuff like that. It knocks the rhythm out the game, so Celtic can't get into their kind of full flow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I thought
that's got to be a big part of it as well, because with the intensity that Celtic in that play, do you get? I mean, play it. Part of it is that we keep it going to where teams doing constantly. And if the game's starting, it's hard to get that going. So. I suppose I'll give him a buy on that one.
I think, Mark, as well, those 2 games now, I saw him now come in and he struggled. I thought Barnaby struggled yesterday. I think the only reason he was taken off, because I actually think Ange thought he was running the risk of being sent off, that he was getting wound up.
I think
by the Dundee United players.
I don't think he was impressed with the penalty decision at all, Paul. I think that's maybe been playing on his
affected his game, Mark. And he got wound up then, Mark, because
he was. You could tell that he was raging about it, and quite rightly so. Quite right to be raging.
You know, but Taylor then comes on, Mark, and Taylor then, he's just, at the moment, Mark, he's just a different class to what we have. You know what I mean? Some people are saying,
future Real Madrid captain Greg
Taylor.
Man,
he's unbelievable, Mark. He's runs again yesterday, like, you know what I mean? It's just brilliant. And then you have Radisson. Then, like, Radisson yesterday for me was man of the match. The way he was bombing up and down that line yesterday. A lot of people say they give the Haksabanovic for the 2 goals, but Radisson for me was man of the match yesterday. I just thought Radisson was outstanding in both defence and attacking wise. Like, you know what I mean? You know, I just really did. Like, he just brings something totally different to that attacking lineup, Mark, that we don't see when Jovanovic is playing, you know?
Sorry, Bobby saying he's coming on, Paul. I was just trying to get that sorted for him. I like Haksabanovic. I really like him.
Took his goals well yesterday, Mark, as well.
Aye.
You know, took his goals.
Second one, he was a wee bit maybe lucky, but it doesn't matter. It went in, do you know what I mean? But aye. I like what Haksabanovic is bringing to the team now.
Kyogo as well, Mark, coming on.
Scoring with a header after we're also going on about there's no point of crossing the ball into him and that.
But I actually saw an interesting stats about him, Mark, last season, that people saying he hasn't been scoring as much. Last season he had 11 goals in the league, and this season he's 10 goals in the league. You know, so he's averaging the same amount of goals.
Aye.
But if you take into chances missed, he's averaging a goal about 1 in every 3 shots. Do you get me? You know, 3-4 shots. So he needs about three shots and goal kind of before he actually gets a goal. That kind of stat. You know what I mean?
Oh, aye. Well, I mean, that's what we're talking about. The difference in levels, Paul, between us and the Champions League. If you've got a top level striker, they're scoring 1 out of 2 chances to get that falls to them. Do you know what I mean? We're needing, on the Champions League, we need 21 shots for every goal we got, wouldn't it?
One thing too, Mark, and I noticed yesterday, I actually didn't like it myself. A lot of people said they didn't mind it was when G Marcus was coming off, he looked a bit pissed off that he was getting taken off. And I didn't like that, Mark. You know, a lot of people say, look, before him to take pissed off because he take his opportunity then the next time. But that it's a team game. Do you get me? You know, you're coming off.
I want my players to. I want my players to be pissed off, Paul, that they're getting took off. You want players to bang it that they're getting took off?
I wasn't actually impressed with G Marcus yesterday. Do you know what I mean? And I could see why he was actually being taken off. You know?
Aye.
You know,
But
that's what I was saying to you, Mark, last week. Like, is this causing a bit of players kind of getting a bit pissed off that they're playing one week, getting taken off, and then out of the team the next week? Like, could this be a scenario with Kyogo and Gianmarcus? Do you get me? You know?
I just what you need, but Paul, you need that competitiveness, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's good to. I mean, no player's going to be happy if they're not playing. So I don't. It's and Paul said it as well. We could do. We have 3 strikers on our books. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely, Mark.
So how would that fare if we had that?
You know,
for me, they've just got to swallow that up. It's part of being at a big club with a big squad. Just you're not going to be playing all the time.
No, I just hope, Mark, that. Do you know what I mean? Like, crap like this does upset your dressing room. Do you know what I mean? You saw the scenario, not a different class of player, like, but you saw the crap there last week with Ronaldo with Manchester United. Do you know what I mean? He was not willing to come on. He doesn't like being a sub, and his attitude towards Ten Hag and the Manchester United. Like, I just don't want that scenario around Celtic. Do you get me? Do you know what I mean? The team seems to be united. Like, do you know what I mean? And if the players get.
United, Ronaldo captained United against Villa. Was that yesterday? After all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, today. You know what I mean? You know, they fucking lose against. It just shows what a manager does to a team, Mark. Emery comes in there and Aston Villa thumped Manchester United. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Jesus Christ, man. You know?
I think that's Bobby coming on. You there, Bobby?
Hello, can you hear us all right?
I can hear you bang on, Bobby. Thanks very much for coming on, bud.
No bother, mate. No bother. I was just messing about trying to get bloody on that there. I wasn't sure what I was doing.
Oh, that's sure.
No, once you get loose, that's you live now, Barry. Bobby, it was a tricky game yesterday. Look the way the weekend turned out. It was a big 3 points, and we've seen this for Ange. Like, this is a winning team, no matter how bad we played. Celtic draw out the results.
Oh, definitely was, wasn't it? Sorry, Mark, if you were in there, mate. I wouldn't
No, on you go, Bobby.
It was one of the ones where you're sitting there and you're watching the game, and I had a bad feeling, mate, just being 1 goal in front, and then obviously when they equalised, I thought, oh no. But at the same time, we've seen it against St Johnstone with the Giakoumakis one. We've seen it with other games. I thought, if we get a chance, we'll do it again. And obviously we end up getting 2, do you know what I mean? But I was chuffed to bits. But,
some finish with Jota as well, wasn't it?
A bad, do you mean?
Oh, a bad. I mean, the wee cheeky chip and that, aye.
But we're saying, Mark, that the likes of Kyogo needed a goal and Gianmarcus needed a goal and Amida. I think Abad actually needed a goal as well himself. You know, because he seems to be in and out of form as well the last couple of weeks, with James Forrest kind of stepping up as well. I think Abad needed that goal himself yesterday.
I'll have done him a power of good, hopefully, Paul.
Who impressed you yesterday, Bobby?
What was that, sorry?
Who impressed you yesterday?
Yeah, I thought Haksabanovic. I think he's. I think most games that he's played, he's showed up quite well. To be honest with you, I didn't think it was vintage the way that we can play. To be honest with you, I don't really think. Obviously, Taylor came on, kind of shored it up a wee bit at the other end. But Jota had a good game. Haksabanovic had a good game. But I don't think there was any real standouts yesterday, really. Because obviously, as I say, you're sitting there the second half, and it's like chance. Not really any big chances, but chance, and miss. Time gets on, they score. It's like, oh, do you know what I mean? It's it's not what you want to be seeing. Do you know what I mean? But
No, see, that's it. Like Mark, what Bobby was saying there, like the more it's kind of 2-1, it was always, and for them scoring in the 87th minute, I actually thought it was 2 points dropped. I thought the game was finished. Like, and like Bobby was in the live chat yesterday as well with us, and we were saying like, Jesus Christ, like how did this happen? Like, do you know what I mean? How did this happen? Like,
don't get me wrong. It's one of the ones where I always feel as if when we've not actually been able to do it much this season where we play before Rangers, but I always feel as if you drop points, I mean, potentially the Rangers result would have been different today, because I always think if the other one drops the day before, you've got that wee extra bit of edge there. Do you know what I mean?
It's not often Celtic play before Rangers. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not often that happens.
There's been a few recently. The last month, there's been 3 or 4, but I think up to there was about 9 games in a row that Rangers played before us. But, it's just, as I say, it's one of the ones I feel as if we had drew yesterday, Rangers wouldn't get beat today. That's just the way it seems to go with both of them, really. Do you know what I mean?
But that was a cherry on the cake today, wasn't it?
It was, Mark. I was just about to say that. Like, that just kind of summed up how, like we said 2 weeks ago at the Hearts game, when they dropped points the following Sunday again, didn't they? They dropped points against Livy.
Kingston 1 minute.
Yeah, they dropped points against Livy. Like, I know we're seeing the same today. Like we're seeing the fighting spirit of Celtic.
But just think about this, Paul.
And it is, Mark. It's putting pressure on them. You know, these wins.
Just think about this. See, we would have been 10 points clear if it hadn't been for a loss to St Mirren. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. St Mirren, that's the kind of... that just shows you how big a mistake the thinking with the team was at that game. Do you know what I mean?
You could look even further on than that and say, right, okay, the St Mirren one, but say for talking St Livingston had held out against them as well. So, do you know what I mean? That you could be 12 points clear. Do you know what I mean?
Garbage. They're really poor.
They seem to be crumbling, Mark. You can even see that now by their post up in Twitter now, like they're crumbling, like
rudderless.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong. When that went to 2-1 the day in their game, Bobby, on the Discord, where we arses were going like a rabbit's nose, went there. You know, there's a VAR penalty coming here or something like that. But
see, you expect that, like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're so used to that, like you're so used. I said to you, Mark, I said, let's just wait and see. Like, let's not get excited. We wait for the final whistle.
Mikey put on the. He's like, I'll wait for this. He says you'll get 3 VAR penalties, and I said, don't even joke about that. And I wasn't joking, because I mean, really, would anything surprise you?
Well, do you know what? Watching their game, well, I was flicking back and forward really, but watching theirs, and then obviously for whatever reason, the way they play, it's just out wide, big stupid ball into the box. But thankfully, I can't remember if there was any kind of maybes that they could have had penalties, because you know what it's like. Big ball is in the box. Look at ours yesterday. The header, it hits the arm. Luckily, there was no like situations like that with the St Johnstone defence, because it would have been penalty right away.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's exactly, Bobby. Exactly.
What do you think of the VAR so far, Bobby?
To be honest with you guys, I personally, so far it's been terrible, but I personally think that the idea of it is it should be a positive. But I don't think it's a positive with the people that are controlling it and the people that are making the decisions. But all in all, so far it's been terrible. But I actually do like the technology, if you know what I mean. If it was done right,
you like the idea, and if it was done right, you would like it. I think we're all the same. I mean, the people.
Fear of God, though, innit? Everything's just, you get fear. I feel as if every game you got the thing me now. I'll be honest with you. See when that ball came in, and I think it was Fletcher headed it onto Bernabei's arm. See, even before they said they were checking it, I thought they're going to flag that up. Do you know what I mean? And then
only go, Bobby.
What a penalty, though? Do you know what I mean? That's not a penalty kick.
None of the Dundee United players claimed for it.
No, I noticed
that. I mean, that's one of the things you can kind of tell if there's a sniff of a penalty, how players react.
And then, Mark, you go back to the Hearts game.
Both sets of players.
Yeah, and then you go back to the Hearts game, Mark. You saw the Hearts player pulling his hand behind his back because he knew exactly he gave away a penalty.
Yep. Aye,
Do you know what I mean?
as if my hand wasn't there today. That look, it's been here all the time.
Yeah,
know, but
exactly.
you look at that. I mean, I think it was Nick Walsh that was the VAR guy yesterday, wasn't he?
Aye.
But how you can go from one extreme to the other. He's a referee for the Hearts game the other week. It's a blatant ball, hand to ball. Doesn't even go and look at the screen. Plays on. But then yesterday, I wouldn't even say it's similar because yesterday I don't really think was a penalty. But he's straight on the mic. Or go and look at the screen. Go and look at the screen. Do you know what I mean? And it ends up a penalty. So the inconsistencies are unbelievable with it. But I'd like to.
That is what like VAR is going to be kind of judged on. Is it going to be consistent? I mean, don't get us wrong. Our referees are consistently bad.
Do
you know what I mean?
Mark, we saw the perfect example of VAR when we played Real Madrid in Europe, and we were saying, "Where's VAR?"
Oh God, you know.
Aye.
Do you know
Don't
what I mean?
get me wrong, that's that same scenario again. The first one against Madrid, I think you've got to admit, probably is.
I was at Madrid. I was against Shakhtar Donetsk, Mark.
I think it was a Shakhtar Donetsk game.
Shakhtar Donetsk game, Mark. Yeah, we were
Was
saying
there any?
that. Yeah.
Was there any VAR calls in that?
No, I don't think it was the Shakhtar Donetsk one. That referee that did that fucking Real Madrid game. She's getting demoted, didn't she?
Aye, somebody said that. Aye, she's getting demoted for that. I seen that. Even that. Who was the wee boy who played with Arsenal? Samir Nasri. I see even he had a pop about it.
Yeah, and he's a fellow French companion of her, like.
Aye.
You know, but she's known for that. She's known to be, like we say here, all referees want to be a centre of attention. He's saying that she's like that in leg one, that she's likes to be centre of attention. That's what kind of Nasri was saying, you know.
I don't know why we've got women referees in men's games. If they want, they stick to their own women's games. You know what I mean? It's all. I don't know.
Well, you make a good point because at the end of the day, if women's football's getting quite a big push, and it has been for the last few years, so why not push the women's referees in their game as well? Do you know what I mean? Makes sense.
I mean, see the thing about you saw this right. I'm not meaning that. I'm not saying anything like going to hurt them, like any players going to hit her or something, anything like that. But did you see the size you're standing in the tunnel next to between Joe Hart and the Real Madrid keeper? Do you know what I mean? But imagine on the field, like all the big men just running about shouting at her and stuff like that. The way they would look a man ref. Do you get what I mean? You're opening up a whole can of fucking worms doing that kind of thing, if you ask me.
Well, come on, Mark. You know one thing now, Mark. For fucking women start shouting about the man's going to back down.
No, but you know, Paul.
I know what you mean.
No, but imagine Roy Keane. Mind if him just standing screaming.
I actually wouldn't know, Mark, if Roy Keane would respect it, boy. I really wouldn't.
But see the thing about it, if she's going to be a referee in a man's game, she's got to be looked at as a man. If you get my
could you look at this happening 10 years ago when Roy Keane and them were playing?
That's what I'm saying, Paul.
It's just a different generation, Mark.
When players were all around referees shouting at them and I've seen it myself, putting a bit of pressure on referees, the team, and things like that. And I don't know how that would go if you've got like that wee woman in the middle with all the men.
But you think maybe the players? Obviously, I don't think it's right. But do you think maybe the players don't open their mouth the same with it being a woman? If you get what I mean.
I would think so, but probably
it might be that, Bobby. Just
because at the end of the day,
it puts a kind of different complexion on the full match. I think.
Well, because then if you do go guns blazing at the referee, Mark, and she is a female, you're going to be in the papers in the morning.
Oh, imagine their action. Imagine their action on Twitter. Roy Keane screaming into a woman's face because of some decision. Not any player like. Do you know the type of player I'm talking about? We've had even Scott Brown or something like that. Do you get what I mean? If it was a woman, I'm not a big fan of that at all, to be honest. Can
you imagine if the Di Canio referee incident years ago was a woman?
Oh, I know.
That'd be jail, wouldn't it?
Hugh Dallas. Imagine the Hugh Dallas thing had happened.
Oh, God. They'd probably put the football off, wouldn't they, these days, the way things are?
Yeah, it is.
I'm not saying that was right what happened to Hugh Dallas, by the way. I'm just saying something like that happening to like a woman referee. That would be. It opens up a full different kind of aspect to approaching the whole kind of thing with the match. I think if there's women in charge of the game, kind of thing. You know what I mean? I mean, guy, even down to players behind the scenes are maybe stoating about half naked. Do you get what I mean? It's usually a man's environment where you just charge about. Do you get what I mean? But women, like he's just stoating about with some wee tight things they wear under their shorts, just coming out the physio's room into the changing room or something like that.
Referee gets into the team's changing room before the game to put the ground rules down, and they're all walking about starkers. Do you know what I mean?
Things like that.
Aye.
But Ange seems to be getting kind of what you were saying there, Mark. Like he kind of did criticise the referees in his own way, but he was cautious the way he was doing it. Do you know what I mean? Ange seems to be getting fed up now with these decisions, kind of given against Celtic up in Scotland at the moment. You know.
Well, I don't think it. I'm not saying Ange shouldn't speak out about it, Paul, but I don't think it should be down to Ange when it's this kind of new system. It should be higher up the kind of chain. I think it should be like Sir Nicholson that's coming out with some kind of statements about this. I mean, he says that we're going to talk about the AGM. He says, we were instrumental in implementing the VAR system and we're happy with that. So, to paraphrase him, but how can he turn around and say that after so many weeks? He could say we're happy that it's implemented, but we're just not happy with the way it's actually working just now.
I would like to think, Mark, they are highlighting these things, but you know that? I really would, and they're not just going to say it out in these AGMs. You know what I mean? That they are kind of dealing with this stuff kind of in-house with the Scottish FA. Do you know what I mean?
See, the thing that gets me most is, and I think we've spoken about this before, that as VAR as such, but it's the Scottish version of VAR. We've got seven angles in comparison to most other leagues have got 18, 20 different angles. So I mean, all right as well. Do you know what I mean? Come on now. 7 angles, that's okay, that should still be able to see the biggest part of things, but if you get VAR, get it the same as the rest.
See, it's all about too as well, Bobby. It's like what you're saying there, like the big teams have about 18 cameras there, do you know what I mean? But it's all going about too what angle they're actually showing the referee of the replay. I can't understand why we're not being shown the replays. Do you know what I mean?
No, what really, really annoying me is it seems to be like if there's a decision in, say, down in the Premier League, it's like, right, okay, right, they continue playing as much as they can, then they'll say, right, there's a check ongoing. So there's no been like a minute, 2 minute stops.
No, exactly. Yeah. And then they put it back then, Bob. I just saw that now with the Liverpool game. There was a potential penalty in Liverpool and Spurs. And the game was actually being played, Mark. But VAR was still checking the situation, which is the way it should be. And then if it is a penalty or dangerous play, right, the next time the ball goes out of play, we need you to go over and have a look at this and then bring it back. Do you know?
I feel as if you've noticed it, and I don't know if it's just because the decisions have been terrible in the Celtic games, but I feel as if you've noticed that they're going more on the guy in the ear. Like the referee yesterday didn't see that as a penalty. He was watching what happened. He's obviously seen what happened and thought that's not a penalty. But it's as if there's somebody in his ear going, no, go and look at that, That's not how it's working in different countries. You know what I mean?
It's not. It's not. If the referee's in doubt, he's going to VAR. You know what I mean?
It's as if the referee stopped the referee in the game.
Aye, that's what
Ange kind of hit at. That's what kind of Ange said yesterday, Mark. Ange said, look, it's like we have 2 referees refereeing the same game. Do you know what I mean? We don't need a fella in the building 20 miles away refereeing the game that he's watching on TV. Do you know what I mean?
As you said there, Ange, obviously, Ange is great with the reporters and stuff. He doesn't take any crap, but I think he done an interview or something last night, and he says that he wasn't really best pleased with how he reacted, because I think yesterday he kind of did get a bit pissed off with the decisions. And I mean, that when you seen the camera going to Ange when they gave the penalty, and he's like, do you know what I mean? This is doing my box in now. And
you could see the frustration.
And he's not really showing that side. I mean, you see him getting a bit annoyed looking, but I think he was actually raging yesterday. Do you know what I mean? And I think he's probably been speaking to the other guy at the side and speaking his mind. And I think he wasn't kind of pleased with how he reacted to it. If you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, just
even if there'll be Celtic forever in against, even if mate. But thanks for joining us again, bud.
We just get back into the game, Mark.
Hold on, Paul.
Yeah.
Bobby, you stick Celtic Forever's link in the chat as well.
You're
full. He's got.
Sorry,
Bobby, you're on here. I'm forgetting.
No, but just wondering there. I can't obviously see. I'm unable to see, for whatever reason. I'm unable to see the old chat. And
if you hit chat, Bobby, down the end, you'll see a box saying chat.
Chat with everyone in the studio.
Yeah, and then you hit comments.
There's
comments and all the comments there. But Mark, like, we have a potential to go. Like, they have a tough game now on Thursday night. Look, Celtic have a tough game as well against Motherwell at Ford Park, but I would expect Celtic to get something out of this game at Motherwell. But game against Hearts is a tough game. Like, we could be 10 points, we could be 12 points. I mean, even if we're 7 points, Mark, going into this World Cup break, like that's what I'm saying. These last minute goals, like, best teams, Mark, win when they're not playing good. And this is what Celtic are showing. They're showing their champions. If we're not on form, we're still winning games. And for me, that's the sign of champions.
That's the wrong box you're in there, Bobby. Can you see a thing saying comments?
Comments.
Here that says chat, and I've got a thing that says comments.
Yeah, I get the comments.
But I can read the comments, but I'm unable to write comment on that, if you know what I mean.
Oh, right. Sorry, right. I don't know how that works.
I don't know.
But just leave that then. Let's not get it confused now then, bud. Know what I mean? No bother.
I don't know if it's maybe to do with being iPhone. I'm iPhone, so I don't know if it's maybe. I don't know. I can chat. I think that's just I can chat to you and Paul bit in the background, but I can also read.
This? Paul, your legend, son, man. What's that about? What did I do now?
It probably means me. I hope it better mean me. It better mean me, less of this carrying my nonsense.
Don't get my head any bigger than it already is, man. Put Paul in his box there. Next, my mic is just muted for the rest of the podcast. You know, but it is like
Eddie, nice to see you again, Eddie McWilliams. Thanks very much for coming in, mate. 7
points clear, like, already, and
13 games.
They're already saying the league is over. Like, they've given up over on that side. Like, but like, I saw a great thing there by what's his name? Lundstrom, is it for Rangers? Is it?
Aye.
That the only reason Celtic are on top of the table is because of all league form. But isn't that the way football goes, Bobby? Do you know what I mean?
Said?
Yeah.
Celtic
are only on top because of all league form, because of us dropping points. I'm not going, but is that the whole point of football? Do you know what I mean?
He said that it was something. Somebody asked Lundstrom something, and he was asked, blah blah blah, Celtic, and he says, we don't mention the C word talking about Celtic. He says, but what I will say is, the only reason that they're top is down to our poor form. It's like, right, is that not the stupidest thing you've ever said?
Exactly. Like, you know what I mean? You know, that's football.
What about that, Paul, that Eddie's put on the screen? What happens if the review a VAR but allow play to continue as a goal, then VAR decides as an infringement? Does a goal get wiped off?
I've thought of that myself before, actually.
Well, did something happen? I think something happened like that down in England when it first came in, that a goal was scored, but there was a foul against one of their players in the build-up to the goal. And I don't think Michael actually got pulled back for it. I thought VAR were checking. I remember VAR were checking it, but I think the because the referee actually let it play on. It's only kind of like, Mark, really, if it's against you. Do you get me?
Aye.
You know, if it's kind of in your favour, but if your players fouled in the build-up, and you score, well, that's they let that go. But if it's not, then like they'll pull it back. Do you get me?
Right.
But I just think we're using VAR all wrong. Like,
Oh, definitely.
stopping the game for 5-6 minutes to check an offside. Like, it's not hard to put down the lines and see if a player's offside. Like, you don't need to be putting different angles to see if a player's offside. Do you get me?
They're Joseph there saying that the Dundee United player yesterday was offside.
He was, Mark. See, that's why.
Thanks for coming in again, Joseph, by the way.
This is why I
OG as
can't
well,
understand, Mark, is like, we see the lines in other matches and we don't see them up in Scotland. Do you get me? You see the lines. Was that because maybe it wasn't on TV yesterday and they couldn't put the lines up? But when we're on Sky Sports, we don't see the lines either. So it's actually up to Sky Sports, I think, to put the lines up.
Stephen McGonigal, thanks very much for joining us. I know, Stephen. It's the cameras thing as well, but we were touched on that earlier. Is it something like the Gruns have all got 6 cameras on them for VAR, but when their TV cameras there's 12 cameras, but you're not allowed to use the other 6 or something like that?
No, that's weird, isn't it? I know. Oh.
I mean, that's
ridiculous, Mark. Like, isn't this?
But then again, Paul, you're making it unfair.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're using mere camera angles and stuff like that, it's just the same as, I mean, football's meant to be a universal game, Paul. So see all this VAR stuff, see if it's going to be part of a game, it should be at every level. And I know that's not feasible financially or even practically, but they're changing the rules. They're changing the basic rules of football now.
If the camera's already installed, do you get me? Use them. Do you know what I mean? It's
what happens with like the other cups, like the League Cup and the Scottish Cup? What happens in them then? Do you know what I mean? Is there no VAR in?
No, they don't come into that.
That's bonkers. That, do you know what I mean?
Unless
you know what's going to happen there, don't you? There's going to be something it'll end up on us in name final, and something will happen, and it'll be a case of, if VAR had been played, we'd have won that cup.
I think, Mark, it will. I think, Mark, though, I think it won't be done in the League Cup, but I think in the later rounds of the Scottish Cup, when they're kind of going into Hamilton, Park, they'll come into effect then, for the 2 semi-finals and the final, I think. But I don't think they're coming into the League Cup because I actually believe they're actually not in Hampden, the VAR technology.
Would it not have been in the Nations League though? Was it VAR in the Nations League? No.
There was VAR in the Nations League, yeah.
Well, obviously they were at home. They were at home. Obviously games in that. So, but okay. So what is it? No, what would be a funny one? Right, Scottish football as a whole has got VAR, but it's, as I say, it's a condensed kind of version. So why, in that instance, then has Scotland played it in the full version in an international match? Do you know what I mean? But then the teams underneath their banner in leagues playing a different thing. That's bonkers to me.
Aye. It's all the grey areas and when it's getting used and what's getting used and stuff like that. I mean, and even due to the fact that it's come in 2 months after the season, 2-3 months after the season started, it's absolutely ridiculous in itself.
It is, Mark, yeah.
I was talking to Mikey just the other week when it came up. When
they got him in, they got him in 2 months faster, was it? 2 months faster than that could have been done over the summer.
It was meant to come in after the World Cup.
Yeah, it could have been done over the summer.
Things that happened in previous matches. And Mikey was saying that Jonas said to Mikey, I think it was 2 games or something like that Dundee United were denied utter blatant penalties that would have been a thing with way VAR and didn't get them, so they've been kind of done out of points before. Do you get what I mean? It was just the decision to bring it in mid-season is just stupid as well.
But I don't know, Mark, would they? Because you're looking at decisions that are going against us. Would they have got these penalties? I just don't. I just think it's just the stupidity of the referees at the moment. It was the fella there that's always on, Michael Stewart. He says the referees have to be retrained in Scotland. He says they basically have to be retrained because the decisions they're making with VAR and without VAR is just ridiculous. Like, I mean, it's the basic They don't know the basic football games.
Who's doing the training? That's the question.
That's what he's saying. Yeah, exactly, Mark. I think you said you've been screaming for that UEFA should be taking control of.
Well,
Do you know what I mean? Like
the thing is, like, when you go in, sorry.
Like what Mark was saying before about bringing in foreign referees. Why not have someone from League One or the Championship down in England who's not refereeing the game? Let him control our VAR. He doesn't have to be up in Scotland anymore. He can just be inside the building down in England, Mark, or Wales or anything like that, watching the game. Someone who actually knows the game properly. Do you know what I mean?
See, when a referee retires, why not give him that job?
Sure,
I mean, like the top English.
But is it that what they did down in England with Mike Dean, didn't they?
I'm talking about even like get English referee. I mean, obviously maybe the big Premier League, maybe the big Premier League refs will stick with the Premier League. But see, like a referee for France, Germany, I'll maybe know your top referees in England. See, when they retire, why not ask them? Just fancy work more vars.
But the thing that gets me, like you even see Bobby Madden now coming out saying things about the Scottish referees that the thing against Hearts was a penalty. Do you know what I mean?
I thought that was a bit for him, though, because it's all right him saying that in his current predicament, but
exactly. But what he's
saying, he wouldn't have seen it like that when he was up here. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? So, is it the Scottish FA Referees Association up there that has that? I
mean, is it just one guy that sits? Is it just one guy that sits and watches it?
Like two
Scottish VARs, but there's 3 or 4 down in England, ain't it?
There's 3 down in. You have 1 VAR official, Mark, and then you have 2 assistants.
Aye.
Because I was actually going to say, see, like if we're having a I'm saying I'm getting an ex-referee, a retired referee in to watch the games, and why not have an ex-player sitting next to him? Another neutral so that they two can sit and they've got a referee and a player both discussing what's been seen here.
See, Mark, then the difference is there then is because supposedly the referee will go by the rules of the game in the book. Do you get me? While a player then will be thinking as a player. Do you get me?
Right, but imagine what a player would do. Imagine the 2 VAR guys. Imagine it was some wee French guy and just some wee, I don't know, German player, and the both of them were sitting there trying to warrant why that was a penalty yesterday with Burnaby.
Do
you know what I mean? That player.
I just think that they have to look at the rules as well at the moment, because if you look at the rules at the moment, any kind of movement with the ball towards the hand throughout any football, international level, European level, it's a penalty. And it's actually, for me, football has come to a stage where it's benefiting the attackers, not the defenders. Do you know what I mean? You look at the keepers there now. Your keeper only has to fall to the floor, and he's getting a free kick. Do you get me?
I've said that before about why Joe Hart doesn't come out for Bosmere because of that, Paul.
I remember before as well, Mark, that before there, a defender could get the benefit of the doubt in a one-on-one tackle. Now all you need to do, like you saw Fletcher yesterday, like Fletcher was going down there like a woman yesterday. The way the size of him, and he's a tough lad, because throughout his career he was a tough lad. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And even now, like if you see attackers now when they're at the corner flag, 9 times out of 10, the attacker will just go to the floor and it's a free kick. Do you get me? I think football's after favouring the attack, and that's why I'm surprised why Celtic actually don't go down more with the way we play. We have the most possession in games, but we've the least frees.
We've usually got the most fouls as well now, Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, but we're always more. See, compared to last year, which I don't mind, Paul. I don't mind a wee dirty kind of tackle and things like that when it's called for.
How do we have most fouls against us when we have the most possession?
That's what I was just going to say.
And we have the least free kicks given for us then. So I'm just thinking, Mark.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I always said, Mark, we're too honest. We're too honest as a football team. We don't take players down. We don't do that. I think Celtic need to be going to ground.
I don't know, Paul. I don't like to see that. See if
I know,
Celtic
but
players make an arse doing for dives and that.
we saw it last week with mine. As well, no,
It's a
didn't we?
bit it's a bit cringy in that, isn't it? And we
No,
give
but
other teams,
sometimes, Mark,
other teams pelters for it. So
a lot
don't know,
of times there, though, Mark, all players stay on their feet, and
but
because we don't stay on our feet, we don't get the free kicks.
Let's not lower ourselves to their standards, but Paul, do you know what I mean?
See, the thing is, it's they say about the inconsistencies, but they also say, the thing is with VAR, over time, the decisions will level themselves out. I can't see how that would be the case with us, because, I mean, 3 games and we've had 3 penalties against us. I know we've been awarded 1, but they said, through the course of a season or through the course of time, all teams will benefit or whatever through it. I don't think we're going to. I really, really don't.
No,
it's going to be...
I was thinking the same, Bobby. I was actually thinking the same about it, because
oh man, honest.
I just have to.
Turns going away, Paul. Night turns. Tell a wee man I say hello. Good
What
night,
did you
bud.
say, Mark? It's not really cheating, but there seems to be a biased approach towards Celtic. You know, and I think as long as we have the same officials, VAR isn't going to change nothing for us, unless it's getting caught out, as you said, when we speak about that in the AGM, by the club, and at the moment it looks like it's actually not.
Just think about it when it comes to January the 2nd, Rangers v Celtic at Ibrox. John Beaton is a referee, Nick Walsh is a VAR guy. What a hope in hell have you got to getting a result that day?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Or a wee Tory guy. He's still...
That know that wee Matt Lucas guy that was doing our game yesterday again.
Jesus Christ, shocking.
But I never noticed, was it? He was a wee odd looking sod and all, wasn't he? He don't know what luxury fun him in.
Talking about getting hit by the ugly stick, like, do you know what I mean?
But I mean, I've spent as well, but Bobby, you'll know this coming through this kind of area, nearly dogs area, Bobby, but it's into I nearly doxed you there. Saying that he came for you, but
I didn't help myself calling myself Blanter Bob before, do you know what I mean?
But into all these referees are fairly Lanarkshire. Into the full Scotland, where you can't tell me there's no guys up in Aberdeen, through in Dundee, Edinburgh, all these places that want to be referees, and they're getting held back for me. They're getting held back because they're not towing the party line.
There's a thing on YouTube. It was a guy, is an older guy that stays in my street. He's a season ticket holder at Celtic Park, and I just, if I see him out in the street just in passing, how you doing? Good result of the weekend, blah blah blah. And he told me about 6 months ago to watch a thing on YouTube. It's called Anybody But Celtic.
Aye. That's a couple of year old. I've seen that.
You watch that, and it's like you watch that, then you see the decisions we get against us, and think, I know what's going on here. Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't want to be constantly pushing that narrative that there is something there, but see, from time to time, you can't hide the fact that there's something there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to somebody. I always get up, Paul. You know, I've always just put most of it down to incompetence, but there's times that it just, as you say, Bobby, it just kind of twigs that's not right. There's just something no normal about the way this is going, kind of.
The handball against Hearts had us all astonished. Do you know what I mean? You're like, they get a penalty up that side of the pitch, and 9 times out of 10, when you watch a game of football without VAR, the referee would generally even it out. So do you know what I mean? Hearts scored their penalty. We went up the other side of the pitch, clear handball. Right, okay, penalty for you now, and then I've gave you both one. But
yeah, exactly.
Didn't they give that day? And every Celtic fan had been sitting, fucking shouting, swearing. Do you know what I mean? And the frustration with some of these decisions. Do you know what I mean?
But anybody that watches any kind of footballer that's going to see that Bobby and
see that, Mark? That's what I think, Mark. Will that happen?
Neutrals, do you get what I mean? Watching a highlight packages or whatever.
See, Mark, that's what I think, Mark. Will this actually highlight how bad the referees are in Scotland if the matches now are going international and stuff like that? Like, if this new crowd via play get rights into, like they have got rights now into Premier Sports, or they're going to be showing all the cup games. So like, if it's going to be streamed, Mark, around the world, like I actually do think in time, not in this season, not maybe next season or maybe 2-3 years, Mark, that all these problems we're saying here now, I actually think they'll be highlighted as Scottish FA how bad it is, because there's a big problem
Fingers
if
crossed, Paul.
yeah,
Yeah.
but Mark, but I said to you, Mark, if I'm the Scottish FA, I'd be asking to myself, why don't we have no players in Europe, referees in the Europa League? Why we didn't have no players in the last round of Nations League games? I mean, so referees themselves are actually getting rated in UEFA rankings as well. Do you get me? To get these matches,
getting nowhere.
yeah. So if Scottish FA are getting in the box, like if they go to UEFA, I'm just putting this into my head now. Like,
I mean, not back early years, Scotland did have referees.
they did, Mark. Yes, they did.
Even, I mean, fair do as usual suspects, but obviously they had to pass the kind of UEFA standards.
Test,
Paul,
right? So that's what I'm actually thinking now, because there hasn't been.
Is Column no one of the? Is Column?
No.
It
The
used to be, though.
last one I think was
Craig Thompson.
It was Bobby Madden, Mark. Remember he referee a Europa League, Mark, there about a year and 2 years ago, and the team came out and slasted him.
Was it not one of the big Italian teams, Paul?
Yeah, and they came out and slasted him. Slashed him to UEFA and everything like that. The decision, and then since then there actually hasn't been no Scottish referee, Mark, in the things like so. I actually think hopefully it will change. Eddie is saying there his biggest problem is that you don't hear the referees in their decisions. That will come, because I think it's next season the Premier League introduced that, didn't they? That you'll be able to hear the conversations now between the referee, and so that's going to come in next season.
I know you and Terence know a lot more about that, Paul, because of the rugby and the Irish sports and that. I'm not actually sure how that works.
So that'll be coming in, Mark.
I actually thought it get played the other Tano. You mind I said that the other week? I thought, but is it just the people at home on the TV that can hear it?
They'll hear it, yeah. They'll hear it, yeah. You know, so it will come.
I'd welcome that kind of thing, Paul.
But see, Mark, these little things, Mark, will
press conferences with referees, a wee question, 10 minutes with the presser that after the game, just to kind of explain what decisions they've made during the game. There's no answerability in them. There's no.
Yeah, well, if this came into Scotland, Mark, we'd be able to see why McLean didn't give that penalty against Hearts and what's his decision. Do you know what I mean? You know, like
if you're actually hearing them.
Yeah, there's actually no decision to me really why he didn't give it. Do you get me? I don't see any other reason realistically why that's a penalty. His hand is clearly away from him. Now, you could talk about the thing yesterday that Barnaby's hand was up in the air, but he was jumping. The ball was past him. He wasn't jumping towards the ball with his hand up. Do you get me?
He didn't know where that ball was going.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's the thing about it.
He jumped. So what?
Paul, see, let's put
it's ridiculous. Like,
see if you're jumping, you can't jump with your arms by your side. Or you just look like one of the dafties that kind of do that pogo dance back the punk days. Do you get what I mean?
It's ridiculous, Mark.
Ridiculous. So you kind of, even though you're your arms good, you're actually trying to push yourself through the air, really, aren't you? But if the ball's behind you, you've not got any clue where that ball's going to go, sir.
No, you don't.
How can you be penalised for? That's for me. I mean, I've always get taught, Paul. Is it the choice? Is it hand to ball or ball to hand? Do you get what I mean? That's what you looked at. Did the hand kind of move to meet the ball, or did the ball just come in and hit the hand? That was a kind of basic rule years ago.
Yeah, basic rule. But
there's no way that boy, he knew he put his arm up there deliberately to try and block the ball, or try and even influence any part of the game or the ball's direction or nothing.
No, look, there was two decisions now that I was pissed off. It was that, and it was the tackle on Haksabanovic. Like that was, and I don't care if Jonas was here with us. I'd say it straight out to him as well. Like it was dangerous play. He came in with studs up. If he would have connected properly with Haksabanovic there, that could have caused a serious injury. I mean, if that was Taylor going into that tackle, that was Taylor's head. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, aye. If I imagine
you know,
I had been on somebody's heater that Paul, it was dangerous play. It really was.
it was, Mark.
It
You
was
know, I
a
got like
rash
you.
to say the least.
It was actually was nowhere near the ball. Nowhere near the ball. Do you know what I mean? Like you just get
Thanks very
sick.
much for coming on, Bobby. By the way, bud, really appreciate that. I think
I
he's
didn't
just
even
going to
know
get
he
in the
was
live.
gone.
He's just going to get in the live chat
Yeah.
now, Paul. His
I'm
phone's
just getting
dying on him.
sick, Mark, of these dirty tackles going in unpunished. Like, you know what I mean? They weren't even a booking. And then Barnaby then gets booked then for that handball yesterday.
I said, what's that about as well, Paul? They seem
Just
to
say,
be
can't
booking him
believe
for.
that, Mark. Yeah, can't believe it.
Why's a yellow card involved now?
No, I really don't know.
I noticed that.
Unless Mark Day saw that, was what you were
Happened in
saying there.
another Celtic game the other night. I'm sure
It was
week.
the other week, Mark.
And
Yeah, when we were talking
it
Jens.
was a Real Madrid game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Taylor.
One of them
Taylor.
get booked and one of them didn't.
And Jens didn't, and we thought the one Jens looked
I
more
thought
obvious.
I
Do you know
thought
what I
that was
mean?
more obvious. That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, Paul. That was more like hand to ball. He moved his arm to kind of hit
Yeah,
the ball on the
exactly.
fly, I think. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Moving on.
I keep forgetting that Eddie McWilliams is Tiny Tim on the Rumour on the forum. I'm terrible with names, lads. I apologise. I really do.
And we're terrible too at pronouncing them, so just keep it simple and live chat. So Celtic's AGM was held Friday. What's Friday? It was done Friday, wasn't it?
Aye.
On Friday. Key points was Ange was open to selling key players to improve the first team and bringing the first team forward. Stadium investment in the South Stand could cost 100 million. IRA chance in the stadium was brought up. Referee systems there with Mark brought up. Kind of mostly the key points, Mark. But what you were saying there, we touched on, Mark, was what should the club do? How would the club go if they said they fought to bring in VAR into the Scottish League? They've got that. So now what's the next step, Mark? What's the next step this club? As you said, it shouldn't be Ange, because if Ange keeps coming out, Mark, he's running the risk of being banned. Do you know what I mean? And we saw that happen with previous managers in was it the Hampton fella, Mark? Was he got
Hamilton? Who was it? Brian Reid was it at the time? That came out and spoke against referees. But Paul, we've been beating this drum from the start of the podcast. And it's back to how even when we're talking about VAR, we know it was sure grapes because we lost this or that. We just try to keep it when it comes to stuff like that, but kind of down the middle. And it needs to be all the clubs. The thing about it is, Paul, see, the SPFL is made up of the clubs. They own the clubs all own the league kind of thing. But they all need to get together and sort it out and see, put stupid wee parochial differences aside for the better of the game. That's what needs to happen in Scotland. If Scotland, the game in general is going to get any better, even down to stuff with a cinch deal and all that carry on, that's just dragging the game even further and further down. There's no kind of, I don't know what the word is, like not a union, but like a coming together of people that want to change things, because there's always one or two that will just say, "Oh, I don't like him, sir." And it's not even to do with clubs, Paul. Sometimes it's just because chairmen don't go and they'll just say, "Oh, I'm not going to go with him because I don't like them." And it's a nonsense, and the game's always going to be held back with that kind of approach to
it. But that is one of the biggest problems, Mark, is if Celtic come up with an idea, we know one club is going to be against that. You get me?
Because they'll be like, "Oh, if Celtic's coming up with it, it must be for the good of Celtic."
Am I right in saying that they didn't want VAR in, Mark? I saw something like that. There only one club voted against. Was that actually them that voted against that being implemented? They're saying it wasn't, but it was them, Mark, weren't they?
I thought probably. It's just then, and even the Sky deal, right? But I'll get it here, and I will say this. I'll be honest, I think they were quite right with the Sky deal. It's not very often I'd agree with anything that Rangers do, Paul, but I think they were spot on with the Sky deal. And especially what you were saying in the last podcast about that.
That's what I said, Mark. The only reason they pushed that, Mark, because Viaplay are coming into the market. They already snapped up the Premier Sports. And that's actually going to be called the Via Sports Cup now from the semi-finals on. Do you know what I mean?
Aye,
So
and
they
these
saw
teams,
this
right? And
coming.
even down to like we've got these Japanese players. We've got another one coming in January. That we've got that a dealer. The SPFL's got a dealer. They're through all this and stuff like that. So it was a bit weird. And so I honestly could understand where Rangers were coming from, saying we don't need this new deal now. Why not see where we are in a year or two's time and maybe get a better deal? Because let's face it, Sky, it's piss
I
poor.
actually think, Mark, like if they went around, as you said there, like they kind of jumped at Sky and wanted this deal through as fast as they could. Not just Sky, the Scottish FA as well. Like, why didn't they go to the likes of BT Sports or go to Viaplay or
Aye.
S-Pan that's out there? Look, this is what Sky are giving us here. What can you do? And they go,
But
look,
Paul,
we come back to you. I
I
think,
think we've still got 2 or 3 years on the deal to run. So
exactly.
we were in no rush.
No.
Right, there'll be 2 teams in the Champions League this year. Right, we'll have at least one next year. And I think we'll have at least one the following year. So
Sky,
that range.
Sky shot themselves, Mark.
I think
the simple thing. Because the market now, there's so many people coming into the market. You've Amazon Prime that's showing matches now. You've this new Via crowd. And Sky didn't want to lose another big.
They were talking, Paul, about the amount of Japanese players we've got, right? So we know what the Japanese culture's like. When there's somebody abroad, they all become these kind of heroes to them, right? So imagine the money that, say, I don't know, Netflix or Amazon Prime would get streaming them exclusively streaming Celtic games into Japan.
Exactly. All they have to do now, Mark, is
we interviews with the players. They kind of reality things where they follow the players and the things about them.
Mark, if I'm living in Poland, all I have to do is turn on my telly, and I go onto the internet services on the telly.
You deefing a bit of clout chasing, Paul. I'm more a listener. I'm getting ideas from my own podcast. He's clout chasing off his. That's what they call that.
All I have to do, Mark, is then go into the internet, hit Viaplay, select my match, and buy my day pass for that. Do you know what I mean? And that's the reason I think Sky.
And what do you get for that?
You only get one match. See, that's the problem with it, Mark.
Right.
You know, that's the issue I have with it. Like, it's like you're buying to attend the match that day. Do you get me? Do you know what I mean? After that match finish, it goes off. Do you get me? That's the problem I have it. That it mightn't be this year. I think we'll still get the rights this year. But come next year, Mark, I said it to you, we will be charged to watch the Scottish League Cup. They might show the smaller games. We say Celtic might get Alloa, they might get Queen's Park. They'll show them. But if Celtic get the likes of Aberdeen, Motherwell in the later games, I can guarantee you that'll be pay-per-view.
Aye.
You know, and that's the problem I have. Like, as you said there, like with our Hamilton food appeal, there's people struggling for Christmas, and this is another expense on the father of the house who wants to take his kids to watch Celtic, wants to sit down and watch Celtic. Like, they have enough expenses already in the household rather than coming in and doing this, like, you know?
It's shocking that there's all these different subscriptions you need to.
It's ridiculous, like.
And fair dues, it's big business, and whether you agree with it or no, it's never going to change, Paul.
No, it's not. It's not. But could Celtic have got a better deal, Mark? Like, do you know what I mean? Could have made it easier.
I've said it before, Paul. I would rather Celtic were just allowed to do their own broadcasting rights and even subsidise the rest of the Scottish League out it. See, like us and Rangers, see, between us, we could probably bring in more. We could probably bring. See, if us and Rangers go. I'm not talking like an old firm daft collaboration or that. I'm talking about all Scottish football getting together and looking at how much money they could get between them all coming into Scottish football.
Well, Mark, we have that down here.
Their own stuff.
Mark, we have that in Ireland. We've League of Ireland TV. You buy the package at the start of the year, we say, for, I think it's about €200, €250. All right? But you can watch any game you want then, do you get me?
Aye.
You know? could watch any game on a Friday night or Saturday night. You're buying, like, if the League of Ireland can do it, Mark, show it, because the Scottish FA can go, right, Sky, look, you don't want that. We're going to set up an SPL channel. I can
That
guarantee
Roger
you, Mark, people.
Mitchell, I know, I follow him on Twitter and that. And it can be a bit mental at times. We all know that. Do you know what I mean? But that Roger Mitchell that was in charge of Scottish football for a while, he tried to launch this and never really get much support for it in that. And some of his plans were good plans. Is it honestly?
But no, Mark, is the time. Maybe back then it wasn't the time because internet access wasn't as good as it was back then. Do you get me? But no,
the technology and stuff like
but
that.
no, the technology's there. Like, do you get me? Do you know?
But I mean, what is the current deal with Sky, Paul? Off the top,
the 36 games, I think, Mark, they show.
I know, but I'm talking about like money wise, kind of thing. Just even off the top of your head.
Jeez Christ, Mark. What do we get? What's the new deal worth?
I think I'm just trying to have a wee Google.
90 million or something like that, Mark, I think, is it? The new deal, is this?
It's about 30 million a season or something like that off the top of my head, Paul.
Right, Celtic would bring in that, Mark.
Aye, 100%.
Look at the fan world around. Like, people think, Mark,
around the world.
See, that's where people think, Mark, and this is the way the SBL think. The SBL think it's only people in Scotland that will buy this and they won't get the revenue. They're not thinking, like you said there, we 4, nearly 5 Japanese players know that we had Celtic. They'll be buying into this subscription. Do you get me?
Australian,
America.
People,
do you know what I mean? You know,
and here, Paul, as I've said, I would not mind Celtic subsidising the rest of Scottish football if it was for the good. If it was for the good of Celtic, and it was kind of proportional. Do you get what I mean? I'm not expecting Celtic to say, right, we're bringing in 60 million, so we'll just share that equally between everybody, kind of thing. But it's got to be like a kind of pool, because again, Rangers would have fans around the world. Do you know what I mean? They've got fans in places, I suppose. But yeah, and other countries would be like, oh, the Scottish League, it's only a tenner a month to what? That's not. Do you get what I mean? €10 or something a month just to have a subscription to the Scottish TV channel you could watch, as you said, Paul, any live game you want.
Yeah, Mark, yeah. Any live game, Mark, I could watch in the League of Ireland TV. Elon Musk, if you're listening, we have the ideas. If you want to give us a phone call, we'll set you up.
Give me a blue tick on Twitter.
Give me a blue tick on Twitter, yeah, exactly. Another thing they touched on, Mark, was the South Stand. Like, we only talked about that the other day with Terence when he was on with us. It is going to happen. They will, but like, that's a big cost, Mark, isn't it? 100 million to do that stand.
I don't know if I'll ever see it, Paul.
I
don't. I'd love to see it. I mean, I would, and it would be amazing to look at, and it would be amazing to go in and watch the games and that. But it's a hell of a lot of money, and we've not really got that kind of money to splash out of that. But,
exactly.
But it's why, Paul, we struggle to fill the stadium every week nearly. There's plenty of empty seats at Celtic Park every single week. Do you get what I mean? So why, unless it's like a game against them?
Yeah, but most of these seats, though, Mark, empty, already bought to the season ticket.
Aye, they probably are, Paul.
Yeah,
to be honest. Aye,
so that way, Mark, what is it that I hear? Is there nearly 10,000 people on the waiting list or something? Is it?
Aye. But so what, 10, right? Aye, you're getting the money in, but it's 10,000. How many of them's actually got to turn up when it's a free?
Kill the atmosphere.
Aye,
yeah.
And the atmosphere, Paul, the atmosphere at Celtic Park's garbage. I don't care what anybody says. See, apart from the Green Brigade, the majority, it's nowhere near what it used to be like. It really isn't. People going about it in that, a great atmosphere and that. I mean, even the Champions League games, it dies away. It just dies away.
I was looking back there, and I like watching previous Celtic games and stuff like that back when I was younger, when Martin O'Neill was there and when the likes of Packy Bonner was in goal and fucking Paul Elliott was in the back line and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, you see the
full
fans back then,
full
Mark,
stadium going, aye. And it's not like that anymore.
You score a goal, Mark, by it's like the whole stadium were up in their seats, and it's true what Neil Lennon said, Mark. There is a different breed of fans out there now, like the fans who, as you said, Mark, go just to listen to the Green Brigade, not Celtic.
That
Do you know what I mean? Take out their camera, take
video in
pictures
the
of the
Green
Green Brigade.
Brigade,
Yeah.
taking pictures of players on the park, taking pictures so they can put it on Twitter. They're not even watching the game. They're just there to tourists. That's what it basically is. It's basically the tourist kind of. We've laughed at the Premier League for doing this for years, Paul, down in England with this tourist stuff.
It's coming into us, Mark. It
definitely is. I mean, a club like Celtic, you're always going to get fans like that. Again, going back to even like the Japanese contingent, they bring a lot of tourists out here, but you can understand them.
And just being in Australia,
but you can understand they kind of people want to put as many pictures and all that as they can get, because it's maybe a once in a lifetime experience for them. But if you've got a season ticket at Celtic Park and you're sitting there taking pictures and videos to put on Twitter, and then come on, you're there to support the team. No, tell people on Twitter what you're doing at the game and stuff like that.
Right, this one, Mark, is for me. It's a bit concerning, but it's expected. This is what Celtic are, and just willing to sell top players to invest in the squad and bring the squad forward. Like when I was listening, I was reading that over the Champions League performance, right? Okay. They said that Ange next season will be an improvement. Like Ange will have these players ready. They'll move on to the next step now in the Champions League. They'll regroup. They know what to expect. But Mark, right, my problem is then, right, if he wants to move forward, for me the key thing in moving forward here is trying to keep the core of this team together. And if we start selling big assets and bringing in other players cheaper, and getting them to breed into the team. Well, for me, we're back to square one, Mark, in the Champions League again, because these players we're going to bring in aren't going to be experienced Champions League before. Do you know what I mean? I know Celtic have to sell and we have to sell, Mark, but I don't want to be Celtic now going down the road again, Mark, where we need to sell these key players. I know at the moment we don't, but I think best thing for Ange to do is trying to keep the core of this team together.
I just think it's a natural progression, Paul. It's what we've kind of wanted for years, isn't it? I mean, here's a myth. How do I say? Even thanks very much for coming in, bud. Nice to see you. But that's the model, Paul, that we're based on.
Yeah.
So you can't moan when it works. And
Well, I'm just making the point is, Mark, he's all about progressing in the Champions League. This is his goal and wants to be in the Champions League. But how is Celtic as a club going to progress in this Champions League? Like you have Ghent there, Mark. They kept the core of their team together, but they invested in it. Do you get me?
You obviously try to keep the kind of core of the team, the basics, but Carter Vickers isn't always going to be here, Paul. What is not always going to be here? I think Starfelt could be. He's the type that might be here. He's no kind of high profile.
I don't know. I actually think.
Has Juranovic proved himself to be any more competent at Champions League level than Ralston?
No.
See if you got a £20 million bid for Juranovic in the summer, do you take it?
I would, yeah.
And then
I would.
Put 10 million of that in the bank and spend 10 million on a new one, which is you're upgrading it that way.
The thing I was scared of, Mark, and I'm worried about, I actually think this World Cup has come in the wrong time for clubs, because they'll have such a good World Cup, Mark, and could be Celtic players as well and other clubs, is that bids with the transfer window kind of straight after it. I think January could be a big transfer window, not just for Celtic, but for other clubs, just because of the World Cup just being before it. Like if Yasa gets there.
Paul, there's these new financial regulations in that. They've got to be. And a lot of clubs are worried about them. Do you know what I mean? So,
one club more so than another, isn't this? One club more so than another.
Really a big month, Paul. It's always a bit of a climax when it comes to transfers, really, into these days.
I know
know
Celtic have done good business again, Mark. We found
aye.
out there now today that this lad, forget his name, I didn't write it down, but coming in from Kobe, yeah, he's coming in a free transfer. Do you know what I mean?
You read that in Japanese too, didn't you, last night?
Yeah, I did, boy, yeah. Still fucking made sense of it, boy. Still
Aye.
made sense of it. You know, translated everything for you I did on the Discord. You know?
The players, if players don't want to be here, Paul, move them on. That's in Celtic. So that's what Celtic sell the club to these young guys, like going back even to Dembele, Edward, Ayer, guys like that. You come in here,
I
prove
just
yourself.
like, Mark, for me, I just
we'll
want.
not stand in your way. You
I
moving on,
want this season. I just want this for me, Mark, as a Celtic fan, and just with what Ange has achieved so much, Mark, at this club. I want these players to stay at Celtic for at least another season, to give Celtic another crack at the Champions League with this group of players already having one season of Champions League. Because we're always saying, everyone is saying this is a learning curve for Celtic. This is not. Well, then keep the core together. I know, but this is what people are saying. That's what people are saying.
But Paul, add a couple of players of quality.
That's what I'm saying, Mark. Yeah, bring in an extra 1 and 2 who are going to bring Celtic to this level. But don't be getting rid of one of our best players in Vickers. Do you get me?
Aye.
Because, Mark, if you think of it, Mark, he's our best player. If we sold Vickers, how much are we going to pay to get? Like, he was a steal for Celtic, Mark. A steal at that price.
Aye, but who's going to come in from Paul?
But that's what I'm saying.
Because it always goes back to the thing that nobody else took a chance on because he's height.
Tight, but if Celtic want a player, Mark, of Vickers' quality, Mark, is that going to be out of our transfer budget? Do you get me? You know, if we went in for Vickers now, Mark, and he was doing, be no way we'd be getting him for 6 million, Mark. If he was playing consistently like that.
No,
you know?
No, but that's where the scouting department comes into it, Paul.
You know, like this new fella coming in, supposedly he's going to be a project. He's not going to be.
And he's 22-year-old.
Is that a project, Mark? For me, that should be someone ready-made.
Aye. It's like Welsh. I mean, me and Mikey talk about this quite a lot when we're playing on the phones and that. Well, I mean, I like Welsh and that, and I wouldn't make up he's going to be a Celtic captain one day and that, but he's 22, 23 now. Is this guy coming in any better than Welsh? And he's getting looked at as a project. I think it's a weird signing again, Paul.
If he's coming in, Mark, I'm expecting maybe one of them to go out and launch straight away. Welsh or him. Do you get me?
I knew they were out of Europe. It might be. Well, Welsh isn't needed for the homegrown role, but I'm not expecting this guy. I'm not expecting this new signing to be named in your squad, Paul, to be honest, after the window shuts in January.
Strange, Mark.
Would you rather have Ralston or Juranovic as your main right back?
Ralston.
I'm starting to favour Ralston. I agree with that, to be honest.
Because, Mark, I saw it there now yesterday, right? Because you look at Ralston yesterday, and I'm always said it, Mark, and I said it not just because of the European games. He does it as well in the SPL games. Juranovic cuts in too much.
Juranovic cuts in and Ralston's always...
And Ralston's always on the byline. Yeah, always on the byline. Covering his space. Two different types
of players.
Yeah.
I don't know, Juranovic just did... I mean, that's the team when he first came in. I mean...
Exactly, Mark. But, Mark, you look at Juranovic's tackling now, is like we're always saying, Juranovic seems to be the better defender. And now you're looking at the moment, is he actually a better defender at the moment? Do you know, he's giving away his passing has been atrocious, Mark.
I don't know, Paul, whether the transfer speculation...
I think it has.
...got to him or whether there's something else going on, but I'm not writing him off because we saw what he can do. Exactly. So we know he's a good player, but he's right here, right now.
Yeah, based on what we're seeing now. Yeah, exactly, Mark. What we're seeing now, Mark. And
we've got to go with the best players for the here and now. And obviously, Ralston's better than Juranovic for me at the right back, definitely.
Without doubt, Mark. For me, at the moment, it has to be Ralston. He just gives us, I think, that extra bit of physicality, anyway, for one, that's needed in this squad. And for me, Mark, like I'm not questioning loyalty or anything like that, but Radisson plays for that jersey. Do you get me?
Aye.
He's got his second chance that he actually thought, Mark, he never got. That he'd never get. You get me? So anytime Radisson puts on that jersey, Mark, I think it's an honour for him.
You can tell that, Paul.
Yeah, but these new international players.
I still maintain I would like to see him get a wee run at centre back to see what he could do.
Mm-hmm.
A day just because he's physicality and his height, and I mean he's good in the air, isn't he? So I would like to. I'm not meaning like big games, Champions League games or derby games or anything like that, but just
but Mark, if you need to rest Vickers there, like, or if you think like, why not put him in there and try? These are the type of matches, Mark. We're always saying, like, we're going to Sydney there now in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks' time. Why not try something like that over there?
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Why not try a different formation? Do you know what I mean? Everyone's saying doesn't have a plan B.
Imagine Ralston playing the CDM role, just flying into the tackles. But
I think he would, Mark.
But that's the thing about it. I mean,
I think Mark Ralston's a type of player, Mark.
He's a hard tackler, Paul. He doesn't pick up many bookings in that.
He'd play anything, Mark. He'd play anything. Like, that type of player, Mark, that I don't care where he play once I play. He sees me that type of player, don't he? Do you know?
As you said, Paul, he's grabbed it. I mean, I've all agreed on it. He only got that year's contract because he was one of the only kind of players connected to the club at the time. But he's took his chance. He's grabbed it with both hands, and I'm delighted for him. See, like him and me, Greg
Taylor in that bracket, like him, he was getting slated, and like anytime Taylor plays, no, Mark, for me, bar Vickers and Hart at the moment, Taylor's the first name in that team sheet.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm
that lad yesterday
delighted for him as well. Do you know what I mean? After the grief and the stick he's took, he's improved as much this season, if not even more, Paul, than Ralston did last season. It's comparable, Paul.
Unbelievable.
But is it? I heard I've lost my word again. How well the two of them have done for Ange's come in. I mean, it maybe took Taylor a wee bit longer to kind of settle into what Ange wanted him to do with all this inverted fullback stuff and all that. But I'm right now. I'd be Greg Taylor's got to be player of the year for me so far, without a doubt. I don't know.
The inverted fullbacks, Mark, only works for Celtic at the moment if it's Ralston and Taylor. That's without doubt. If you actually next time now Celtic are playing, and if it's Ivanovic that's playing, just try to keep an eye on his positioning, and you see like that he's always out of position. He's always getting caught out. Then, like we were saying that about Taylor, that he's lacks to get back when he's moving forward there before, Mark. Do you get me? Exact same thing is actually happening to Ivanovic at the moment. You know, he's struggling to, and I actually do, Mark, think that maybe all this transfer speculation actually twisted his head. I mean, an agent there, Mark, needs to see to a player, I can get you moved now down to South there, you can get this much wages, you get that much wages. Do you know what I mean? You know?
But see if it doesn't happen, Paul, you need to knuckle down and go on with your job.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And I actually think that's what happened to Kyogo, Mark.
But I think, see the way Ange kind of worded stuff in that, I think there's one, like, with so quote-unquote big players is going to be leaving next summer. I think that's already kind of, maybe even January, Paul, maybe when he was talking about.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even say Ivanovic, Paul. Did you not say something about sometimes your heroes need to leave or something like? Did you not say something like that?
Maybe Yata.
Maybe Cal McGregor.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that one.
I think McGregor's
there you go.
He's too loyal to Celtic, Mark. But remember I was saying to you that something seemed to happen to Kyogo, and he seemed to be not. And I was explained then last week to Terence that it was all down to him having a fight with the Japanese manager and saying he didn't suit. But since Kyogo,
Paul, where's Kyogo going to go? Back to Japan.
But since that Japanese, but since the Japanese team was listed, Mark, Kyogo seems to be more of himself. Do you get me? You saw the goal yesterday. You saw the goal there last week. Since he's actually out of the team, Mark, I think did he put it behind him? And just as you said, Mark, concentrating Celtic.
I'm getting my feet up. My wee trip to Australia for a couple of weeks instead of going out to Qatar.
Yeah,
but
anything else, Mark?
Hatate, you can see Hatate getting a move to a bigger, richer kind of
Yeah,
team.
kind of looking that, Mark. Yeah.
But see, like Kyogo or that, if he left Celtic, I'd expect him just to go back to Japan, to be honest, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I don't see any kind of I don't think he's done enough to catch the eye.
Between all of them, Marcus Hayate.
That is some player, man. He really
Indeed.
is.
For a player, Mark, who's been playing university football up until 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean? You know? Unbelievable.
But that seems to be the way it is. It was like big.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy? Big Dave, one of the Korean boys that was out here that came through Australia and all that as well. He was a trained doctor or something. Was he not trained to be a doctor and ended up playing Kai, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, it seems to be, but college football is university football, Paul's it's probably a bit higher level than some of the SPA. I mean, Livingston.
That's what I was going to say, Mark. Yeah,
I mean, Livingston probably couldn't get such. Livingston
they're probably universities game, probably like the championship below, Mark, or League Two. Do you get me?
Aye.
Do you know?
So it's not as if it's not as if it's like what we picture like playing college and university stuff is. It's like they kind of what's the things you get? Scholarships, aye. So that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what Celtic. No, do you remember we did that years ago, Mark? There was the young players used to come in, used to be on the television, young Celtic player, and you watch them train, used to get the scholarship. Then at the end, they'd be doing that now in the universities over in Japan, when a scholarship to Celtic.
Aye.
You know, Kim Jong coming over with his fucking nuclear bomb in his bag, asking where Buckingham Palace is. Anything else you noticed, Mark, from the AGM or stood out for you? Well, we seem to be in a good financial position as well, Mark, to be honest.
I don't think there's anybody in about finances, Paul, to be honest, that with accounts out the other week.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, obviously, the chairman...
How would you fancy... Yeah, I was just about to say that, yeah. How would you think, Mark? I think it's going to be Sharon Brown.
I think it's going to be her, aye.
Going to be her, that she seems to be working with Bankier a lot. She's
all this talk about Lowell coming back, I said... No, 99% no chance, but there's always that wee 1%.
Well, Peter Lyle hired her. I was reading up about her. Peter Lyle hired her to be part of this board. She's been working with Bankier for the last four years. So I'd actually think
like she's a Ned. So me and her will go on all right. You know what I mean? I speak fluent Ned, but I'm not actually sure what one of these non-executive directors does, Paul. To be honest. I don't know whether it's just kind of keeping...
just there, Mark. They don't make no decisions. They just keep things rolling.
No, I think they're more there to make sure everything's there's nothing underhand going on, Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So she's been there for what was it 2016 or something? So she obviously knows the club outside in. She's worked with Bankier, and I think she's probably the prime candidate.
Could we see an outside chance? We saw him at the AGM again yesterday. Instead of Dermot Desmond, could his son step into that role?
No, don't think
so.
Much? I don't think he'll do anything, Paul, while Dermot's kind of... I said it when I was doing this Discord thing with the AGM stuff. Until Dermot's healthy and alive, I don't think his son's going to take on any kind of official role. I really don't. I mean, he is getting groomed for it.
Well, he's part of the board now at the moment, isn't he? He's a part of the board. I think he's actually a non-executive as well. I think
he's one of them as well. Aye.
You know, so I think we're looking at Sharon Brown.
At least it'll be that. But see the thing about it, Paul. It's going to be somebody business orientated kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And
of course,
it gets back to the thing, Paul. We shouldn't. Well, obviously, we need to want to keep an eye on, but we shouldn't be needing to bother about who's on our board and stuff like that. Big clubs don't carry on like that. Do you get what I mean?
I just hope now she doesn't be like the Norwich one that came out there at half time years ago and started shouting to the Norwich City fans, Let's be having ya.
But
Where's
she
the
was
12th man?
famous. She was famous before she done. She was famous before she done that. She's
She does that.
famous.
She was. She is. Yeah. Imagine.
Delia, something I can't mind her
Mhm.
name, but I think she'd have one can too many that night, right enough. But
She did.
no,
It's still famous though, Mark, isn't this?
aye.
Still find it on YouTube and stuff like that. Let's be having ya. You know? Jesus
But
Christ.
these people should just be in the background. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
But when
Peter
does this
Lil
have
was
to be
always-
done, Mark? It's soon, isn't it? Because they have to announce it in January, don't they? Or is it the end of January?
Bankier's meant to be leaving
December.
at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But mind, Paul, when we were talking about Lowell leaving, I said that stock market rules or stuff like that needs to be announced 6 months in advance. Mind, I spoke about this about a
I
year
think the
before it
chairman
happened, Paul.
I think the chairman is a month, isn't it? It's a month's
Is
notice.
that what it is then? Right,
think
that's
it's
what I
a
was
month.
going to say, because there is rules that they need to follow, so there is going to be a cut-off point where we will
Yeah, I
find
think
it.
I actually think it's a month for a chairman, and as you said, there's 6 months then for thing. Because I remember when freaking who was it? It was some
Well,
fella, not to do with work, not to do with football. It was a company here in Ireland when the chairman was stepping down, but they didn't announce it then that his replacement was going to be his deputy just kind of a few days after he left. You get me?
right,
You know, so
aye.
it's not necessarily that much notice like a CEO. I think a CEO has to be like that, Mark, because it's a bigger role, really. It's a chairman.
It's a more important role into it's a kind of day-to-day running.
Well, I just
But I mean,
hope no,
people
Mark,
going
that she's
about
not going to be
Nicholson,
yeah, but I like Nicholson, Mark. I like
I
Nicholson.
think he's doing
Doing his
well.
job. He's not coming out
No, it's
being
not
all
all
about
about
me.
me. It's not. That's
Mhm.
exactly it, Paul. But you
Yeah.
shouldn't. Maybe once or twice a year, you should hear for your chief executive. That should be it. You shouldn't have.
It's AGM, Mark. Yeah, exactly.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe you've got your AGM. You should maybe do like one weekend a puff piece interview a year for like Celtic TV, and then maybe
End
I
of
don't know.
season.
Even do like maybe meet up with a fan forum with all the wee in crowd, kind of thing, and answer questions for fans or something. You don't want to be reading what your CEO says about this and this every week in the paper and that.
Whoever
People whoever
it is, anyway, Mark, the next chairman, right? I just want her to conduct herself properly, not the way a banker conducted himself. When he was asked questions, while you doing about we're not getting involved in the SBA, the Scottish FA, they do their thing.
Bankers' credentials as a Celtic fan don't even check out.
Exactly,
Paul.
Mark. Exactly. You know?
And I know people, that's kind of the wrong attitude to take, but you should be at a football club. You should have a certain amount of kind of hard-nosed businessmen involved in that. But positions like your chairman, that it would be better that it was somebody at the club's best interest at heart. And I don't think Banker ever did. I really don't.
No, he was more interested, Mark. For me, I think himself and Peter Lawal were more interested in trying to keep the old firm alive. To them, were trying to keep that alive.
That
it was always the way Celtic couldn't live without Rangers. Rangers can't live without Celtic. But since Nixon came in, it seems to be we don't care what you're doing over there. You know,
that's what it should be.
Celtic.
Stand alone, Paul. Just the same as I keep saying, is that the same as PSG do in France, the same as these big teams do in the rest of the country, the rest of the continent. Don't bother about what your noisy neighbours are doing. Concentrate on what you're doing.
What do you think Pep Guardiola gives a shit that Manchester United are in a crisis at the moment? He does. He's crap. Do you know what I mean?
You deef. No, I don't. And if I did ever get invited, it would only be one off, I think, and then it would be blocked and flung out and blacklisted again. You deef's asking if I ever attend a fan media at Celtic Park.
No, we haven't, but there will be a time when Celtic Rumours TV.
We'll send Kev. We'll send Kev to that one.
Jesus Christ, we'll be bad. You know, fucking hell. Did you see him today again on Twitter?
No,
flagging all. I remember you said this. You said this aged well, and he put up a post then what the Rangers fans said about Giovanni Broncos coming in. Oh, he's going to be our saviour, better than Gerrard, upgrade. And Kev put down under it, this aged well, didn't this? He keeps them all. He be keeping all the posts that the boys be sending him.
No, honestly, if it's not me, mate, I don't know.
No, we will get there. Don't worry.
So, no, it's saying somebody sounds like me. Poor guy. Oh, wow. Poor guy. Imagine having to sound like me.
Jesus. Or even me could be fucking worse. Jesus Christ. I think that's the AGM, Mark. There seems to be nothing kind of stood out as what we expect of it. The club are in a healthy position, which is, for me, Mark, is the main thing. And we're keeping our
I thought
house
she's
in
just the
order.
thing as well, but it's dragging on. I mean, it's been off 10 years now and that. But the guy that asked about that resolution 12 stuff and all that about, and the Celtic board need to come out with something about this, Paul. See this 5-year agreement stuff and that. There's just so many contradictions about it. And
explain it, Mark. People just on the live chat there, roughly, like, because
roughly, it just seems to be the agreement that old Rangers, new Rangers, the SPL, SFA, and I don't even know who else it could be, Paul. Who is it? But it's all part of the continuation myth and about what happened back in 2012 with liquidation and that. But it's just been going on that long, and they just keep batting it away and batting it away. Somebody needs to come out and actually just deal with it. He don't and say what the club's stance on is it, just to get it over and done with and finish, draw a line under it. Because it's just going to drag on for years and years. And the thing about it is, any other business, Paul, Celtic is a business because the shareholders have had. The shareholders are entitled to ask these type of questions, and they're entitled to that. They're entitled to answers. They're not entitled to be fobbed off. I mean, Peter Law with the wee quirk about Rory Bremner and stuff. That doesn't. They need to. If fans and shareholders are wanting these answers, it's the board's duty to answer these questions for them, and it's not going to go away until it is. And the more it drags on, it's just. I'm not saying it's boring, but the more it drags, it's just can we not just draw a line under this? Everybody knows the truth. Just somebody just admit
exactly, Mark. Someone come out and admit to it. Yeah, it seems to be like Rangers and the Scottish FA are kind of brushed underneath the carpet and hope it stays there.
I mean, somebody asked that Nicholson about it, have you seen the 5-year agreement or something like that? And he said, but I'm paraphrasing, he said, I've not seen it, but a 10-year-old document's not got any bearing on how Scottish football's been run. Well, how does he know that if he's not seen it?
Exactly.
Do you get what I mean? They're a red flag right away. And then the second red flag is, well, what's the big problem about letting everybody actually see the official way? I know there's leaks of stuff and all that, but actually seeing what it is and what it was all about, if it doesn't have any bearing on anything that's happening now. But it's just going to... There's going to go on every year at the AGM. There's got to be questions about that until it's answered. That's 100,000,000%.
And so it does, Mark. Like, everyone was laughing at his question. Like, but people, like, these are questions people want to know. So, I mean, are they the same club? Are they a different club? Just come out and say it. Do you know what I mean? Like, they shouldn't have been entitled to 55 titles. Do you know what I mean? They're not the same club.
I think it was Joe McHugh, I think his name is, the guy for Video Celts. He went on about, and he mentioned a few teams that get found in this year, found in that year, and said to him, well, what year was the club that won the title the other year? When were they formed? And I get, well, we're here to talk about Celtic and that. Do you get, I mean, but don't fob guys off, because, you know, it was a wee bit of a snidey question. Do you get what he's done well getting it in there through that kind of means instead of coming straight out and asking it. But he's entitled to an answer. If he's there as a Celtic shareholder, he's entitled, every single guy at that AGM, and even shareholders that want to do it, entitled to an answer to that question.
I think we know the answer to that, with that endless Celts aren't going to be at the next fan forum anyway. That's what they're not.
I bet that's what they're entitled to ask a question, and they're more entitled to get an answer to it, and Celtic just keep fobbing it off.
I don't know, Mark. Celtic. I don't know. I just think Celtic will never come out, and I think, Mark. What I think is, Mark, that they won't come out and say anything against it in case the Scottish FA come down and Celtic for some reason. I don't know. Maybe is that way they're thinking?
No, one of the reasons back in 2012 that Celtic never came out and commented on it is because to keep the safety of their staff and that they get in place, because they didn't want to put any of their staff under that kind of glare. because honestly, that was down to the safety of Celtic employees that Celtic never commented on this back in 2012. I mean, they were threatening to kill folk, they were threatening to burn down football stadiums, they threatened to burn down Raith Rovers Park and that. So that's one of the reasons that Celtic never commented on it. And that came from not a private meeting with me, but it was a private meeting for somebody with Peter Lowell at the time, and that he told them that. That's one of the reasons we can't guarantee our staff safety if he come out with anything that kind of controversial.
It just shows the tuggery around the club. You know what I mean? Really does.
Oh, that's all. It's just bullying. Getting back to the sin stealing stuff like that. Just no other league in the world would stand for that, Paul.
But Mark, the thing that gets me, right, and you will agree with me on this, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and the fella Brian McCoy, are top Dutch coaches. They've run the Dutch league with PSV when they were there.
Feyenoord that was Feyenoord
2 years in a row. Yeah, they broke up that gap of PSV winning it.
Do you know what Paul, that's he didn't win it. I mean, I said at the time when Van Bronckhorst came in, I thought Van Bronckhorst was a good coach, and I still say that.
But Mark, they can't get it into their heads that Van Bronckhorst can't do nothing with this team because he doesn't have the money to buy these players that he wants. Do you know what I mean? They don't. Do you know what I mean? They really don't. Like, and they just can't really see that. Like, you know, this money they got from the Champions League, Mark, is there to cover off their debt, so they're not going to get in trouble with the new UEFA Fair Play. Do you know what I mean? That's all that's going to.
But they'll not even have that money yet. That's the thing about it. That's not even, they don't even get that money in their account yet, or that.
No, that won't be there, Mark. I think that gets paid out at the end of the season, don't it?
No, I think you get it paid in stages. You get it paid in installments, but it's always paid up by the end of the season, Paul.
Yeah, paid up by the end of the season, yeah. You know,
and that's I mean, their accounts, that's them. Their accounts are, I think, they're overdue now, kind of thing, going with where they've been the last couple of years. So there's obviously got to be more financial bad news in the pipeline for them.
They're normally kind of a couple of weeks after Celtic, aren't they?
Aye, well, I think last year I've seen on Twitter somebody saying that's the fourth. I think it was the fourth or something last year. So how come they're not out now? But anyway, stop talking about it.
That's what I'm saying.
Never getting caught up talking about them again, man.
Moving on to, well, you're the one who brought it up by the 5-way agreement, not me.
No, we've started talking about the AGM. No, that's what we started talking about, the AGM, wasn't it? And that's the 5-way
question, actually. That was asked about us. Moving on to Motherwell. Celtic in a great position, Mark. I think that this, not so much judge the league or any Burns league, but if we win Wednesday and if they drop any points against Hearts, the league has actually swung Celtic's way, because I actually think that they're actually in a bad place to be meeting Hearts at the moment, because Hearts is a tough place to go to. Are they home? Are they away?
They're at home, Paul. We're away to Motherwell, which isn't going to be an easy game for us either.
No,
Paul.
It's not. Motherwell form as well, Mark.
I know we beat them in the cup that the other week, but Fir Park's never an easy place to go, especially when it's a kind of all winter's night.
And he is then playing good football as well, Mark. Robinson, is it Robinson's the management?
Aye.
He's then playing good football as well. Like, gone are the days, Mark, and you see it now kind of coming into Scottish football. Bar one or two teams, managers are starting to come in now to the Scottish League who actually want to play football, you know, want to bring a kind of attractive football to their club, you know.
I've noticed as well, Paul, that teams are I mean, Dundee United, they never parked the bus yesterday.
No.
And I think managers against Celtic, Paul, are maybe realising if we just sit back here, we're going to get pummeled. So we might as well have a go and try and keep them on their back foot at times. And some teams it's working. Do you get what I mean? At least teams aren't parking the bus. They're kind of coming out and having a go at us, and then just taking what they can get. And I think what you're saying, Paul, I've noticed it as well, watching just highlights and stuff and that. But it's always the same, Paul. Seeing you watch Celtic, managers play a different game against Celtic or Rangers in the day. If it's Motherwell against Hearts kind of thing. But when these coaches are coming in, and that's, I mean, fair play to them. I mean, even Robbie Nielsen the other week against us.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't like Robbie Nielsen. I don't like him at all. And that.
He had a go, Mark. He had a go.
Aye. And
that's why I think, Mark.
Again, it was controversial going back to the VAR stuff, but as I said at the time, Paul, that night we done the podcast, I said, if you're sitting, they were talking about attracting people to watch the game, Paul. Imagine you're just some wee neutral guy sitting in Estonia and you flick that on and say, I'll watch this to know. They'd have enjoyed that. That was a good game.
But there was tackles, Mark, in that game that were fair. They were hard tackles, but they were fair tackles. Do you get me?
The wee guy Devlin, the wee Australian guy Devlin, I thought he was a great game.
Previous Hearts games, Mark, there were dirty tackles in against us, like some lace, but he's actually wanting. I think Nelson, Mark, will see fucking an opportunity for Hearts to take points off Rangers at the moment. They're that unstable at the moment. It's a big game for these Rangers players.
I'd like to think Hearts will fancy their chances at least getting a draw, Paul, to be honest. Rangers will be rocking after. I mean, we're going about our European hangover, but I mean, they've had a disaster. Theirs was ridiculously poor, but theirs was an absolute disaster. I mean,
but not just us, Mark. They suffered in the league as well.
See if Hearts can beat them. Yeah, Hearts will go up to 23 points, and they'll be sitting at 29 points.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same difference between us and them and Aberdeen.
It's an opportunity, Mark. I think it's an opportunity for Hearts, I think, too. And I think, Mark, like if we do win on Wednesday, like going in, we like I said there when Bobby is on, like, Mark, we have a potential of going away to the break of the World Cup, 10 points clear, if not 12, if thing goes our way.
Aye.
So I mean, I'm even delighted, Mark, going into this winter break with 7 points, because I didn't expect us to be this far ahead. But like what you said there, Mark, only for Ange making 9 changes to St. Mirren game. Do you know what I mean?
Just shows you how much absolute balls up it was. It, but really, Paul.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Like Paul, I took pelters in the forum at the beginning of the season when I said Celtic would comfortably win the league and that. And I still maintain it. And I said today, Celtic will win this league by double points. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, especially now, Mark. Listening to what Andrew said,
we're not going to drop a 7-point lead. That's not going to happen.
Because when I was listening to Ange yesterday, Mark, and he was saying, you don't notice these Celtic players when they're winning. But we have, Mark, we've said it. When we were playing against Dundee United, when it was 9-0, these players were still going for the 10th goal. Merida was still running up and down the wing, Mark, chasing a loose ball. That's if you're 9-0 up, you just let it go wide. Do you get me? That's the mentality, Mark. And the problem is, they show us when they want. If Ange said it, if Celtic go out and play the way we played against Real Madrid for the first 30 minutes, there'll be no one stopping this Celtic team, Mark. No one. So it's up to the players to keep this high. But I said it, Mark, I think it's hard at the moment when there's 5-10 minutes VAR stoppages when there shouldn't be 5-10. I mean, ridiculous decisions. But 5 minutes, Mark, checking offside. Do you know what I mean? Ridiculous.
Ange's probably the type of guy that's sitting here tonight trying to think of a way to counteract that, Paul.
Definitely.
Do you get what I mean? He'll be sitting there thinking, you see all this stop, start with VAR and all this. How can I come up with something that's going to counteract that?
When you have counteract that, Mark,
and it just must be
high tempo.
But even as soon as the game restarts, it's all out gung ho. I mean, we're going about how many late goals Celtic that scored to win games, Paul. But many times if Celtic conceded and went straight up the other end of the park and scored.
Yeah.
They've done that a few times over the season as well, and that's again
unbelievable.
That's a thing I can remember hearing Ange talking about. And once the game restarts, it's trying to get a goal back as soon
Mark, that's the problem
as possible.
That I think Celtic have to do. Celtic is the type of team for me. They need to score early. And when they
Aye,
score
aye.
early, it opens up the other team. The more and more it's going on, like the St. Johnston game, Mark, and the St. Mirren game, the more and more we're struggling to get a goal, we're struggling for the win. That's when I think the mentality of the players changes. Nothing to do with Ange. Ange can't do nothing about it. It's the players on the pitch that's, for me, Mark, they panic. It's the players, for me, that panic. And they forget about the system then that Ange wants to play. Do you get me? Like this,
Start
yes,
forgetting their instructions and start just trying to do their
exactly.
own thing, kind of.
Exactly.
Aye, maybe.
Yesterday's performance, Mark, was 700 passes. And in yesterday's game, there seemed to be very little tapping back. Do you get me?
Aye,
It was more forward play
more
than
direct.
yes, and that's like if we continue to do that, Mark, like you said there, any game's won. So I mean, we just need to play the way Ange wants us to play. I mean, his vision works, his style of play works, but it comes down to, for me, it comes down to who Ange picks in team selection is one, and the players on the pitch. Do you know? I know
But
certain games suit
it's not
certain
working.
players.
It's not working in Europe, but Pablo.
But he needs,
That was another thing with
but
the
yeah, but that's
AGM
what I'm
that he
saying,
said.
Mark.
See,
Yeah,
during
but
the
that's
AGM, he's like, I'll not be changing my style on that. I thought,
no. But see, Mark, what does that come down to? He's seen Denmark as that. What I was saying there, his main thing is to keep the good. Does Ange actually think or know that these players aren't good enough for Europe for that next
that's
level?
what I think. I think that's what he meant, Paul.
Yeah, does
That
he need to
thing.
bring in better players?
Aye, I think it's a case of anybody's. I honestly, you're saying about keeping the kind of core. I think if Ange gets a bid in for a player that he thinks he can get ready and get an improvement on, Paul, whether it's Carter Vickers, whether it's Geomarcus, whether it's Kyogo, Jota, doesn't
Because
matter. I think he'll be away.
we've seen our big players who are big for us in Scotland fail in Europe, like the Kyogo, Giamarcus, Abada, Callum McGregor, Mark, who could say failed in Europe, but the reason he failed in Europe is because he can't play that position in Europe. Do you know what I mean? You know?
Aye. At least, I mean, don't get us wrong. Jota will learn. Abada will learn. To get what I mean, but is
Yeah.
Cal McGregor going to learn?
No.
I know it was only a joke earlier on about him saying Cal McGregor would be getting sold, but if Ange's want to approach every game as if they're playing against Real Madrid, well, we can't have guys like James Forrest in that in the squad. Let's not be kidding about it. Do you know what I mean? There's got to be even doing James McCarthy, guys like that. You can't get players to. Do you get what I'm saying by that, Paul? You can't say to players, right, go out there and play. Right, I could go out and play as if I'm playing against Real Madrid. It doesn't mean I've got to be any better. Do you get what I mean, sir? It's good to think of that, and maybe it's time. Maybe again, some changes are going to be made that the fans aren't going to be happy with. I think that's what Andrew's kind of hinting at.
Bring up the better standard of players that we're bringing in, Mark, and
well, that's exactly what I say,
stop,
Paul.
Stop bringing, maybe. Do we, yourself and Terence were saying it, Mark, there, like, do we stop, I mean, not stop, but not bring in so many of a project signing? Do you get me? Someone who's made and ready for this Champions League team and who will make a difference. You know?
Honestly, I think you've got to do that, Paul. You've got to. But even getting back to the kind of shots at goal and the goals we scored in the Champions League, that's embarrassing,
Ridiculous.
Paul, to be honest.
17,
really,
I think you finished up, Mark, nearly 76 shots.
I thought it was up in the 80s, but when I saw it, I think it was. I'm not 100, but I mean that's terrible. And that for me, Paul, is a failure in the striking attacking department.
It is.
Whether it's your strikers or whether it's your wingers or whatever, that's a total failure in the actual attacking full department in the Champions League. It really is. And I think really I really would like to see us go out and buy a big, fast, strong, physical striker. Do you get what I mean? Somebody like we were
Tony.
talking about that in Kunku the other day. Tone, guys like that, big fast guy. I mean, every game we played against these type of players, Paul, they rip us apart in Europe. So why do we not have one of these players?
Yeah.
I mean, even see, honestly, imagine Big Samaras. Imagine, I thought about this the other night. Imagine Big Samaras playing for us in the Champions League. The new under Ange when Samaras was that. Means every Champions League game he was that outball, big and strong and lanky. And
He was, yeah.
Aye.
Peter didn't like playing up against him, Mark.
Aye.
That's why I was
Aye.
surprised, Mark, he didn't play Gio more.
Maybe a wee bit more, like a better player than Samaras, but that type of player, an outball that you could just hit the body, and it was away. Mudryk, the boy for Shakhtar, and the big boy for Leipzig and Concu and that. So that's just a different level altogether. And we've got to maybe try and get somebody just before they hit that level, obviously. Do you know what
maybe
I mean?
No, Mark. Maybe no, Mark.
Dembele. Imagine Dembele in the team now.
That's what I said, Mark. They're nice to you. Imagine of all the players we had in the last 10 years, I said the one player would like to see with Andrews Dembele. I think he'd clean up, Mark, with the service he's getting. You know, that type of player we're looking at. Maybe Mark now with the likes of Mark Lawal coming in there. Mark, maybe this is an opportunity for Celtic to open up their scouting report. Do you know what I mean? Broaden the arenas where we're looking at. You know?
I think we've done that already under Mark Lawal, Paul, to be honest. I mean, guys like Yank,
Ruben Kanzan and
Alvard and talking in Dunphy. I think the kind of signings are all down to Mark Lawal. I mean, I've said before, but that could be one of the best signings Celtic's made in a long time. Mark Lawal.
We said that, yeah.
Just his knowledge of the game across the world and stuff.
And that's another reason, Mark, I can't see Peter Lawal come back in, because I could see Mark Lawal being at the club.
No.
When Peter would be, he wouldn't have came to the club, Mark, with Peter.
No, because then he's got the kind of, he's working under the constraints.
Exactly. He's recommended these players, right? Who's number 3?
But it was always Lawal's final decision who we signed.
And it's going to reflect bad on him.
And because let's face it, if your dad offered you a job, you'd be like, oh, that's a cushy number for me. But if you're going to get in there and be undermined by your dad, you're not going to be happy about it. Do you know what I mean?
And that's it, Mark. And that's it. That's the reason I think he didn't come in, because if he would have taken the job back then when Peace loved there, you're only coming in there. No, you only got that job because your dad is there. Or, you know, like I do believe there was some connection there, Mark, with Peace.
Definitely. Even didn't he? Ange knew
Mark as well, Mark, with Man City. Like, but what you said there.
It's weird that Mark Lawal worked for Man City for all the years. And yet, the minute his dad bolted for Celtic, he's said, right, I'll cut, because he's obviously offered a job before. Even though sitting eating his breakfast when he nips round to his mammy's for a Sunday breakfast. Do you get what I mean?
Believe too, Mark, that's putting all conspiracy to a side with the fella McCoy at the time that he found Ange Postecoglou there when he had that meeting, saying he was my man. I honestly think he was recommended to Celtic by Mark Lawal. I really do. You know, looking at what we have now.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but Mackay took the credit for that.
He did, because at the time, Mark, I just trying to put things together. Peter Lawal being his dad, he would have known when Peter Lawal was going to retire.
Aye.
Conversations could have been had eventually that he would have came to Celtic, maybe not back then. But him recommending to fucking Ange, Mark, he comes into Celtic then about 2-3 months later. Do you know what I mean? You know?
I mean, it's like people moan, the jobs for the boys and all that. I don't mind jobs for the boys, Paul, if guys are good at their job.
Mark, this fella has to get his job. He's with Man City, Mark, for all his life.
Exactly. So see if it was some connection of Peter Lawal saying, right, I'm leaving Celtic, there's a job there for you, be the chief of scouting if you want it next year, blah, blah, blah. And he's a Celtic fan or whatever. For me, that's you just like using business connections to go on.
Yeah. And the best thing about Mark, he's young. He's young to football. He knows the way football players. He knows the way Ange players. We're bringing in players to suit Andrew's system.
I mean, sometimes jobs for the boys are good things, Paul. Don't know if you're old enough to remember the old Liverpool boot room.
Oh yeah.
I
Sure,
mean,
Jesus
that was basically kind of jobs for the boys, but it kept Liverpool going for donkey's years. Do you know what I mean?
It did, yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with jobs for the boys if it's for the kind of progression of the club or the company or whatever that is line of work you're in.
Exactly. We'll say we leave it there. Good podcast tonight, and thanks for joining us there. Thanks to Bobby for breaking his duck and coming on having a chat about Celtic. And
big up Bobby.
Jabba now is next to come back on, maybe a sober Jabba for a change.
Well, that could maybe take a bit of time then.
Yeah.
Big up Bobby. Thanks very much for coming on, mate. We really appreciate that.
Do you know what, Mark? I'm actually looking forward to Wednesday already. You know, knowing that we can open up a gap. Do you know what I mean? It's an opportunity that we haven't been in for a long time. You know, and it's gonna if Celtic go 10 points clear on Wednesday, they're going to crumble. We've seen it in the past, Mark, when Celtic open up a big gap, they just crumble. You know, so hopefully the Hunters will be coming back, and the banter is already starting on Twitter. So Mark will close the show.
Sorry, Paul, I was just eating something there. Thanks very much, bud. Again, Bobby, thanks very much for coming on, mate. You're more than welcome anytime. Same as anybody else. I'll put the link up. If you want to come on, just come on for 10 minutes, quarter to an hour, doesn't it? You don't need to sit here all night raising that. Again, big up everybody that's tuned in, everybody that listens back. Remember and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and help share it about on your social medias, and all the links to everything's in the description box below. Remember our food bank collection as well. If you can give anything, please do. It's really appreciated. Hail, good night and God bless.